Here we sit enjoying the shade.
Hey, brother, pour the wine.
Drink the drink that I have made.
Hey, brother, pour the wine.
Well, it's a gorgeous Thursday morning, warm enough for me to bike outside today. The last couple of days I haven't had a bike inside. And I'm over at Carolyn's house, Carolyn Scattergood. And I mentioned to Carolyn I haven't been here since we met to talk about Tony's service.
Right.
So that's been like 10 years.
10 years, almost exactly. Yeah.
Amazing. So how have you been?
Well, I've been wonderful. I'm already alone because Tony's been gone now for a long time. And so I'm used to being on my own. It's not nice to not be able to go out in the car a lot and visit people, but I get along just fine at home.
How long have you lived here on Governor's Island?
Well, if you want to talk about this house that I've owned and built, this was built in 1974. But I came with my parents in 1948, and we spent summers here for my childhood.
And you came from where?
I came from Massachusetts.
What town?
The town of Wayland.
Okay.
And after I married Joe, we moved to Sudbury, which is next door.
Tell me again what year you built this house, 74?
In 74,
74.
as a vacation home. And much of it is still the same. Some things have been upgraded.
Yeah, it doesn't look like a vacation house, except for maybe for the rich and famous.
Well, one thing that Tony and I added quite some years ago was a garage, which was the best thing that ever happened to me, because I remember having to take all the snow off the cars to go to work in the morning, and that wasn't fun.
So I know you were an accountant. Tell me how that all happened.
Oh, it's a long story, actually. When I went to college the first time, I went to Wells College in Aurora, New York, and I thought I wanted to be a mathematician. I was really wonderful at math, and so I started to major in math. But it was a general liberal arts college, and you were required to take other courses. And I took a course in chemistry, and I loved it. And so I switched my major to biochemistry. And that I never graduated from Wells College. I left and got married. And
so what year was that?
I was the class of 62 there. And I'm still friends with a lot of the gals I knew there, and we contact each other a lot. But I did not ever go back to Western New York State until maybe 5 years ago. So it was almost 50 years since I had seen my college. Anyway, I became a homemaker and had 2 children, and it just was always in my head that I never finished college. And we bought a company here in Lakeport, my husband and me, that began to have some serious financial problems. And I couldn't read the financials. I didn't know what to do with the whole thing. And so I decided, well, maybe I better learn about that. So I went back to college, and it took me 2 years.
And where did you go that time?
Then I went to Bentley College.
Okay.
It's now Bentley University. And I got a degree in accounting.
So you were still living in Massachusetts at that time?
We were. And this home was here as a vacation home. So we sold finally the house in Massachusetts, came up here to run the company full time, and I did that while I went to work for Bob Stinson over on Pleasant Street in Laconia. And I spent 25 wonderful years at that company and enjoyed every single minute of it. Never, ever had a problem getting up in the morning and going to work.
Oh, that's great. And do you keep up with tax law?
I do.
You do?
We have a member of our Rotary Club who is a former IRS agent, and he provides me with the Kiplinger tax letter every 2 weeks, and I eat it up.
So I know you're you just mentioned the Guilford Rotary, and they have resumed some meetings on Friday morning at the church.
That's correct.
Small group. You probably have been attending via Zoom, or how?
We started 100% on Zoom back in March, I think. And it's now about half, maybe, go to the church, and half of us are still going on Zoom.
And what are you doing to take care of yourself?
Well, I'm not sure if I take care of myself very well. I love to eat, and I love my wine.
What kind of food do you like?
Anything.
Anything. Huh?
Anything. There's hardly anything I don't like.
Are you a good cook?
Well, I like to think so, but it's not terribly gourmet.
I know you're a golfer. Paul
And
Visco says you hit it farther than a lot of the men.
Well, I'm not sure he's been over there to see, but yes, I do. I play 2 to 3 times a week generally. Right now, I've been to the dermatologist, and I've been told to stay out of the sun for a while. I have little spots all over me.
Mm.
So yes, I play 2 or 3 times a week and hit it around a bit.
Mm. And you mentioned 2 children. I know one of your daughter moved back up this way.
She did. She did. She lives here on the island, Debbie Clough. She works for Irwin Marine, and anything you see on Facebook, I think, that comes from Irwin Marine comes from her. She does some marketing for them.
And her husband is David?
Dave Clough.
And what does he do?
Well, he's a small business consultant. That is what his title is. But I think he'd like to be, I call him Farmer Dave. When they moved here, he got a tractor. And they have a large piece of property. And he does a lot of digging holes and taking down trees and moving rocks. And he thinks that's the greatest thing on the face of the earth.
Oh, that's funny. And your other child?
And I have a son who lives in the southern part of the state. He lives in Chester with his wife, and they are realtors. And he is also owns a couple of small companies that do advertising and photography. So, and I'm lucky to have them all nearby.
How many grandkids?
I have 3.
3.
And 1 great-grandson.
No.
Who is 8.
Well, 8?
He's in
That can't be.
third grade.
Wow.
And he lives here in New Hampshire as well. So
Oh,
everybody is here or in Massachusetts.
And have you been able to see very many of them?
I have. I see them fairly often. I do have the one grandson lives in northern New Jersey, but he's coming this weekend, and I'll be seeing him.
Great.
So,
And how did you happen to come to the Guilford Community Church?
well, I'm sure that it was because it was there, and I like the feeling of small town community. Wayland was a very small town. I have a sort of a mixed background in churches. When I was little, and until I was maybe 10 or 11 maybe, we lived next door to a Unitarian church, and this was during World War II, and not much gas to take you anywhere else, and so we walked to this church as a family in the early 40s and through the 40s. One day, someone took me to a church service in an Episcopal church, and I just thought it was the total opposite of that Unitarian church. Yeah. Lots of candles and incense and whatever. And I joined that church as a young person and went through the process of becoming an Episcopalian. And then we came here. And both of those churches were, in Massachusetts, were community churches in a way.
Yeah.
They just brought in the neighbors and my friends and whatever, and so I looked for that here. And so we started going to the Guilford Community Church. Not regularly, but I guess.
I know when I first came, Joe was your ex-husband was
Yes.
on the finance committee.
Yes.
And now where does he live?
He lives in Meredith. He has another wife, and we're all good friends, and we all get together for holidays and events in the family. And he's not well, but he's still got a wonderful sense of humor.
And he was a financial advisor, or what was
He was a stockbroker.
Stockbroker, okay.
Yeah.
And what was the company in Laconia that you owned?
we owned a company called Covecraft, and formerly, before we owned it, it made the Aquasport water ski. It was located behind St. Vincent de Paul and off of Blaisdell Avenue on McIntyre, what was McIntyre Circle then. And when we bought it, the company was making crutches, wooden crutches.
Huh.
And we manufactured those for maybe 4 or 5 years before we sold the company again. And we tried lots of other things to keep the company going.
Huh. And what's on the schedule today?
Oh, well, my cat's appointment for her annual checkup is today, so I'm going to be taking Mitty to the vet,
And where do you go?
Dr. McDonald.
Good, yes, great vet.
Yeah. And then I have a friend who lives in Belmont, Wendy Richter, who owns Smith Orchard, and a close friend of mine. And we usually go out to dinner maybe once a month, but during these times we haven't been able to go out. So tonight we get together. I'm bringing a pizza over, and we're going to eat a pizza and a salad off her deck.
And any wine?
Of course.
What kind of wine do you drink with your pizza?
Well, that would be probably a nice Pinot Noir. But you know Sandy McGonigal,
Oh, I
who's
know
a
Sandy.
close friend of mine, and I often have a glass of wine with her.
No, I didn't think she drank.
Oh, well, every once in a while. And she drinks Chardonnay, and I had a glass with her recently, and it turned out to be, well, I'm not even going to tell you what the brand is, but it's far cheaper than my Pinot Noir, and I thought it was just as good. So occasionally I have a Chardonnay.
It wasn't Boone's Farm or...
No, not that bad. I do have something that relates to Sandy and our Rotary Club that's not maybe, it's sort of turning the tables on you. And I have something for you.
Oh.
And Sandy wanted me to get a picture of you accepting this, but maybe we can do it somehow.
Sure.
But, and I may have to sort of look at this to make sure I get it right.
Okay.
But during the pandemic, a number of organizations, as you know, were trying to raise money virtually. And the Rotary District that we're in decided to have a gala online, and we could donate to that gala. It was music and all sorts of other wonderful things. And the district decided that they would parcel out any donations that were made online to the various clubs who were involved, and then we could decide what to do with that portion. And Guilford Rotary Club was given $500 to decide what to do with to take it to the community. And we were charged with, I'm going to read this, I think it was to find local heroes during the COVID pandemic. And we were all asked to nominate someone. And I'm not going to read the rest, but I nominated you.
Oh, thank you. Huh.
And as
You must have been drinking.
it says here, the way it's been written, Michael kept our church together in many ways, including online services and sharing weekly interviews with members of the church by posting them on our website and Facebook page. He kept us all connected, entertained, and informed. I, who was isolated because of a health issue, when I say health issue, I was isolated because I have an immune system that has a little issue, and so I didn't go out at all. And also living alone, appreciated his efforts and enthusiasm and would like to thank him with a certificate. So I would like to present you with a $50 gift certificate to T-Bones.
Oh, well, thank
and you and Cindy can go out or order out and have it delivered outside to you. And we thank you so much.
Well, thank you. That's a great honor. I was so surprised. I saw the email from Sandy the other day,
Oh,
and I was just very embarrassed and humbled.
Well, I just looked forward to seeing those presentations from you, and seeing the church services, and seeing Scott. He was very interesting with the children's portion and listening to the music, and then of course these interviews. So anyway.
And tomorrow you get to watch yourself.
Oh gosh.
Well, I thank you so much. Hope you have a great day, Carolyn, and I appreciate all that you do for our community and the Guilford Community Church. Keep up the great work.
Well, thank you. I just love living here, and hope I can keep on doing what I do.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pour the wine.
Tell you why the day is sunny, I'm in love with lips of honey. Well, you see the way she walks. Hey, brother, pour the wine.